Ready, go! Ready, go!
Hello everyone, thanks for joining today's stream. I am your host for this stream, Random Gamer Riven. Hopefully you can all hear me. Hopefully everyone's able to hear this okay. If there are any issues with the sound, please let me know. I am finally on. I'm just letting the intro roll there for a second while I prep for the stream. So without further ado, let's get a cracking, as they say. This is Guardian Heroes. This is the English version of Guardian Heroes. I'm actually playing the PAL version. We have the Japanese version as well, but I thought I'd go with the PAL one so I can understand the plot this time around. But if you want a thing about optimization, if you pay attention to that sword, you will see it's got weird jagged. It's not a straight blade. If you look at the blade, it's got like a weird pixelated every sort of 10 about 7 or 8 pixels in the blade. You'll notice it sort of struts out and struts down. That is due to PAL optimization, where they try to stretch it for resolution, but it doesn't quite look right. They didn't stretch it to full PAL resolution either, so not ideal. But because I want to see the story, I might actually do a Japanese playthrough at some point, because we do have the Japanese version as well. But unfortunately, the Japanese version, the text is not in English, so the PAL version's only a fraction slower. I'd say it's about 3 or 4% slower than the Japanese version. So I have actually got all 5 characters here. Serena is the unlockable character, although if you play as her, it does mean you cannot. So I played as Hun in our previous video. I usually play as Hun, but I'll try Jinjiru for a change. Might go a different route. I'm tempted to actually do a route tonight and then replay that on the Japanese version at 60 Hz. This is 50 Hz, but this is properly PAL optimized. Plus it's all in English. Hey, hey, this is great. I never thought. And this translation was also done by Working Design, so it's not actually SEGA Japan, SEGA of Europe. They actually bought the translation from Working Design. And unlike some of Working Design's other translations, certainly the Albert Odyssey one, there aren't all the really rough jokes. In fact, ironically, they actually removed Jinjiro's Japanese jokes, where he just says odd things during the conversations, which actually don't work. They're just not really very funny. So the official translation is not as good as this translation. I have to admit, the official Sega translation on Xbox is not particularly very good, because there are probably a few issues with the Japanese original dialogue where it wasn't actually that good, and Working Design actually did quite good. But this one is very different to Working Design's later translations, which were really cumbersome. Assuming Sega of Europe didn't retranslate it as they did with Shining Wisdom. Get moving. So this is probably one of the seminal Sega Saturn games, and to date this remains the best version of the game. It is a scrolling beat 'em up, but it's a plain scrolling beat 'em up in that you can't move up and down freely. You have to jump between planes. And basically the game, unlike a lot of other scrolling beat 'em ups, actually have a variety of routes based on your selections throughout the story. So you can pick to do various things in the story, and depending what you do will depend on the route you can take. And there's actually 7 endings. Now, one thing that's worth noting, if I press start, you don't see it here, it was added to the Xbox version, is there's actually a hidden karma rating, which was never explained in the Western manuals properly. In that, basically, if you juggle enemies and smash things, you will actually get a negative karma rank, and that actually prevents you from getting certain endings. And I'm not doing very well as Jinjiro. It's just the opening guys. Oh, I didn't want to do that. to fight off all the guys until we got to here. So basically, there's a, as I said, the karma score. So if I go smashing the barrels, I will actually take damage to my karma there. Now, basically, you do get level ups in this, so you can see there. Admittedly, what I wanted to do was beat some of the enemies, but your karma rank is affected by parrying enemies. So you mustn't parry and you mustn't destroy, or basically you mustn't parry dead enemies. So if you go parrying dead enemies to gain XP, that's frowned upon by the game's karma system, as is harming civilians and smashing barrels and things that basically civilians would use. Oh, that's not a good start. So basically smashing barrels will actually give you negative karma, basically fighting off enemies. And each character also has different spells. See that that's actually one of Genji's more powerful spells, that one, but once you use magic the music is absolutely fantastic as well. Annoyingly, the Xbox version was a bit of a slapdash port, so the intro was not properly upscaled to 1080p. Not that that actually is really that hard to do, I do it all the time on this channel. So I do not know what Treasure were doing with just not upscaling the original, just taking the Saturn print of the intro. They did it with the Master, they should have just taken the best quality Saturn print. And these days there's quite a few people who actually just upscale stuff pretty well just to improve it. Depending which character you pick does affect the difficulty somewhat. Randy is by far one of the most powerful characters, but when he starts, he is by far the weakest. Unfortunately, this version was only ever 2-player. I don't even think the Xbox version would. It would have been nice if you could actually had 4 players during the single player. So each of the characters do have a small selection of moves. This boss is actually an undefeatable boss. It will either automatically take over when you take too much damage, which is probably going to happen to me, or once you dish out so much damage to it, the fight automatically ends. Either way. Okay, once you've dished out so much damage to it. I don't tend to play as Genji hero that much, hence my rather sucky start. Usually what I do to level up is I do actually do negative karma stuff where I just pin enemies to the wall, but that, as I said, does not benefit your karma in the slightest. No. So Selena there is actually playable as well. She's an unlockable character in that initially when you first play this she's not selectable, but as soon as you finish the game with one story path she then becomes available. I'm really not having a good time. I don't normally play as Genji, normally do Hound or Randy, I have to admit, so... There, I got it. Just feel the true power of my sword. Ouch, and poor Han gets zapped there. And what you're about to see is the reason why the game is called Guardian Heroes. And here we go with the level up system where you can see there I got 12 points so I can actually level up. So what I probably want, I do like to put one in each luck. He's actually quite a good mixed character. So strength and vitality I really need. So mental agility, luck, they all affect various things. I don't believe it's possible to max out every stat in a single playthrough due to the fact you just don't get enough XP. I think you could I can't remember if you could carry over the stats. I think you could. But I think there was a weirdness where you could only play as the same character and you had to reset. It wouldn't permanently save your character's stats. Now the music is absolutely fantastic in this. It is the very best. There's some great... There's Randy and his little rabbit dude. We'll bring back light to this world of darkness. Say hi to my commentator SEGA CD Boy 21 there. Now there's lots of little sub-routes and routes in this one. This stage has a thing where if you run all the way to the right, Thurs will tell Volga to get lost. If you fight the enemies, you'll have the other thing around where Volga tells Thurs to basically shows up. There's lots of subtleties like that. Han, for example, if you take a certain route, you can get back to the sword. Depending which route you take does depend on the ending. There is actually one ending, which is the route we used to take a long time ago, but I can't remember what it was, where you can actually defeat all the main villains. So you can take down the robot, you can take down the imposter king, and you can defeat both the sky and the earth spirit, which is like the best route in the game. Calling up the souls of the others. But why are the royal knights rising from the civilian cemetery? Yes, the plot thickens. There is quite an in-depth political intrigue plot, and it does actually come out really well in this game. It's very well done. It's one of those rare examples. You do discover why civilian knights were buried in this very cemetery. You actually discover what's happened to the real royal family. And I do love the jazz, that saxophone solo in this track is fantastic. You just heard there. So there was, if I actually, at that last battle, if I ran all the way to the right, you can actually say, do you have Zer tell Volga, who's about to appear, to get lost, and vice versa. There's quite a few subtleties like that. You know what you're doing with some nice, really lots of different routes. And even a few sort of quite nice Easter eggs. There's a hidden Colosseum as well you can access relatively early on. Maybe I'll even access the Colosseum this time around. It's not that hard. So yeah, the game does not like it when you beat up... should have actually beaten the Knights rather. Each of the characters does play very differently, so Han's definitely the easiest character to play and master. Then Judo was probably the second. Brandy is probably the most powerful as a wizard, but let's get ready for this saxophone section. Fantastic music. Now, there's never actually been a true sequel. We had Advanced Guardian Heroes, which was like a spin-off sequel. Advanced Guardian Heroes is a terrible game. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. It is one of the worst Game Boy Advance games. It was an appalling game. Treasure tried to sequel quite a few of their games on various formats and never succeeded. They've tried to sequel Guardian Heroes multiple times now, and they've basically flummoxed it every time. The only one that's not really a flummoxing was Code Princess on the 3DS. That was intended to be, I believe, a new Guardian Heroes game, but they never quite got the money for it, as I don't think it did that well on Xbox Live, unfortunately, which is a shame. I think it got released quite late on, as I remember, on 360. But it was, I'm glad it did get released on Xbox 360, but unfortunately the Xbox version, again, is a bit of a mess. So some elements of the game are missing, such as the awesome Game Over Rift. They changed a few bits. They didn't port. It seems like it was ported by a team that didn't know what they were doing. They tried to change the combat system in a new combat system that was totally broken and made the game basically fundamentally unplayable. So that you had to skip that system because they tried to make it more like Streets of Rage, and that just failed spectacularly if you used that combat system. You had to keep with the original one. Basically, whoever did the port tried to add their own touch to it, didn't understand the original game, and just made a bit of a hash of it. As long as you stick to the original elements in the 360 port, it's great. But if you try any of the new elements they added in, you have the issues. Radiant Silvergun also had that issue as well. They changed the story mode and fundamentally broke the story mode. period, so no one played Radiant Silvergun. That was another colossal faux pas. I don't know what Treasure were doing at that point. I really don't. Don't be fooled by the royal family. Whoever has the sword will be captured and executed. Volga himself is actually one of the princes. Hi Garbage Day, thanks for joining the stream. So, there is a level up system. There is not customizable weapons or armor or anything. Not like Dungeons and Dragons. So I can go to the small forest and rest. I can go to a nearby village, or you may go to town without fear, which I do. So I actually did the small village in the last video. Got Randy's mentor. Let's go to town without fear. So each of the routes you pick does affect where you end up in game, which is something is worth bearing in mind. So I'm actually going to put one on Vitality and one on Strength this round because I think you need to play for them. So here's actually the customization for each character. You can increase each run. You basically get to play through and customize your character accordingly. I think if you carried over a run, you could actually keep customization. But once, if you want to start as a different character or go through, you're basically locked to the same character. So as soon as you want to change characters, I seem to recall you then had to reset your stats. So wizards' weapons. Each of the different routes have different bosses and look very, very different. You've got totally different stages. So this is the town route. Now this is kind of has a little link to Gunstar Heroes, which I will show you. Arguably, you could actually argue it's possibly a prequel to Gunstar Heroes. There are 7 endings in total, depending on your choices throughout the game. Some relate to your karma values, as I mentioned. So basically, the game has a karma system, which you receive good points for like defeating enemies in terms of karma, but you receive bad karma points for smashing civilian objects such as barrels and baskets, as you see in this stage, and for juggling defeated enemies for XP. Basically, when you defeat enemies, you can continually juggle them for more XP, so that way you get loads of XP and get to level up really easily. But if you do that, you get a load of negative karma, and that prevents you to have too much negative karma. You can't get 2 of the variants on 2 of the endings. The one thing that's key is halfway through the game, you will always do the cannon fight, and depending on your choices in the Ganon fight, really just pick which of the endings you're going to get and which route you're going to do. So there is literally a raft of characters that can join you in various sections. So this is not, I mean, when I originally had this is my original PAL version from way back when. I spent literally about 6 weeks doing all the different routes and unlocks and getting all the characters. There is a verse mode, and the verse mode is almost all the characters locked out. In order to unlock them in this one, you have to fight them. So the verse mode is awesome, as well as allows CPU, so basically you can have 6 players against 6 players. The Xbox version did actually up that, so you can have 12 players versus 12 players. However, fundamentally that was broken because 12 players didn't work properly, because 12 players meant that... So if I go here, there is a secret Colosseum. I'm not sure if it's on this stage. I thought it was on all 3 of these choices. It's definitely on the village stage. But basically, your routes influence where you end up and where you go, and certain things. There are, I said, a few Easter eggs. So I'm going to see. I think all 3 of these stages will give you the Colosseum, but the real choices come with Ganon when you fight him. The first half of the game really depends on which way you get to the Ganon fight, and then halfway you always have a fight with Ganon, Actually, no, I think at least one route, one of the characters assassinates Ganon in front of you after his infamous speech. You'll know when we get to Ganon because he gives you a real rundown of everything that's gone on and what he's done, because he's the real power. And they even reference the fact in one of the few funny points in Gunstar Guardian Heroes Advanced is they reference the fact Ganon doesn't make it out of the halfway stage on either go. Which I should actually... You can... So I can tell the Guardian to defend me. I can tell him to go all out. Actually, I don't want him to go all out. I want him to defend me. Because if I tell him to go all out, he will use his super attack, which I want him to use later at the boss. You can actually use these spells. I didn't need to do that. You can use these spells via button input commands as well. I have a feeling. So unlike traditional scrolling beats as I mentioned earlier, this actually has a plane system, so you have to move up and down between the planes. It's not, you can't move up and down as such, that up's used to jump. Instead you can do like here, I'm moving between the planes. You have a foreground plane, you have a background plane, and you have a centre plane. There are a few characters in burst mode that can move between the planes, and they're technically utterly game breaking because a couple of them can move into safety spots where unless you have a character that can do the same, they are untouchable. So the burst mode is fantastic, but it can be quite game breaking. So what we always found a good way is to always make sure if you're going to have game breaking characters, everyone should play as them. So I think, I have a suspicion the... We have got an array of spells. Each character has different spells. It's worth noting I'm not doing too well as Genji. He is not my preferred character, I have to admit. I'm a bit rusty. It's been some time since I actually played this as well, so you have to excuse me. Not ideal close combat. You do have a selection of moves as well, so you, on top of the sort of standard, on top of being able to use, you can actually use the spells via doing Street Fighter 2 inputs as well without bringing up the selector menu. You see there, that's one of them. Quarter circle towards, basically fireball does the mini fireball one. I have a feeling the Colosseum might not have been this way, or I've missed it. Perhaps it was right at the start. Now, unfortunately, the PAL version is... It's not too expensive. It's pricey, but it's not too bad. The American version, I think, is very expensive, sadly. And the Japanese version is probably the cheapest, but the downside is all the dialogue is in Japanese, of course. So that does make route selecting a little bit tricky. You basically have to use a guide, and you miss out on the story. I think I may have missed the Colosseum. I thought you would join the resistance, my mistake. That's why I sent my men to the rebel village. So this is Canon, one of the main villains of the game. Okay, you may recognise this boss. It is indeed a variant on the gold boss, the final boss of Gunstar Heroes, and he does have a gold version later who has the gems above him, just like in Gunstar Heroes, as one of the final bosses. I think he's the final boss if you say we'll do everything on our own. Basically, we fight Ganons. So I'm actually going to tell my buddy to go crazy on him, which is this one, and that means he will start just dishing out the damage. The 2D animations you see is absolutely fantastic, and this is what I always say about people making retro-themed games. This is what you're competing against when you make a retro game. Something like this was made back in 1996, and it oozes quality. Close in on cannon, or retreat and go to the village. Let's see. What do you think I should do, ladies and gentlemen? Close in on cannon, retreat. Should we go help the resistance or see what's left? Or close in for the kill? Oh, let's close in for the kill, because the resistance is going to be dead. Yes, the royal family is indeed fake. So learning combos is key to victory. You do have, like I said, Genji as well as uppercut moves there that I'm exploiting to keep that clean in check. Serena and the Guardian are also doing their own parts. AI is actually doing quite a good job of getting them in the combo, so let's help. Oh, that was self-damage as well. You do have to watch that. Some of the attacks do have area effects, so you do take damage from it. The good thing is, even if I do lose all my credits, and I am a bit rusty at this, I have done this on the hardest difficulty. You do need to do this on normal minimum in order to see all the routes though, so don't play this on easy because you won't get all the routes if you do. One in everything. Going to do a head-on charge. You see there, the stage. You'll notice it's like stage 12. You don't do the stages in order. Your choices depend which stages you go to. thing I do want to do, you do actually want to avoid getting sandwiched. The enemy will try to sandwich you, so try to avoid it. But even if I do die, I could swap character and just take completely different routes to do different choices, which is what makes this game so unique. It's one of the reasons it puts the new Streets of Rage game to a bit to shame, to be honest. The new Streets of Rage game's a bit mixed, I have to admit. They've not carried over all the... So Streets of Rage 4, so you've had a lot of nostalgia from a lot of people saying how wonderful it is, but as someone like myself who regularly plays the older Streets of Rage games, I know the game Streets of Rage 4 is not that great. It's got some issues with it, that basic mistakes. It's missing gameplay mechanics from Streets of Rage 3, which is a huge someone hasn't done their homework issue that I dislike immensely. So I'm actually going to... I don't use one of my abilities, I'm going to... Let's do his lightning attack. Fortunately, as I said earlier, if you do like the look of this and you do want to play it, you can get this on Xbox One. There are a few issues with the Xbox 360 port, but it's largely solid. I would turn off the graphics filters. It's a shame they didn't correctly upscale the intro. It's a shame they didn't correctly... They removed some, like the game over screen and the guitar riff and a few things, and they added in a new control system that doesn't work. But if you ignore the new control system, then you still have a great game. This really is... I think at the Saturn era, Treasure really were at their very best. I mean, they did Silhouette Mirage, they did Guardian Heroes, and they did Radiant Silvergun. All three are just phenomenal games. He's actually got... You do have to, like I said, you do have to watch a certain area. That's his strong attack in the air. You can use those attacks, but you just have to watch some of the ones where you do like flame damage. If you hit the enemies and ricochet off them, the effects will hit you. Actually, just spin there. Not having a great run. So there are some transparencies in this, but clearly there's a layering issue where I think the characters are transparent with the background, which is obviously using CPU 2, but not with each other, which is obviously using CPU 1, or basically one's using CPU 2. So you have a weirdness where things are kind of transparent. I should be doing that roles game more. You actually got a huge... Each of the characters by default is a huge array of moves, so although you can level up, you do have a very large selection of moves available to you and all the other characters. Just going to check if the Colosseums... Yes, this is the Colosseum. The Colosseum's slightly later, so... Can I get the Colosseum still though? I've got a feeling you're not supposed to fight the enemies before doing it. So basically that signpost is a little Easter egg where you can fight the Colosseum. You're supposed to run past it. I have a horrible feeling you're supposed to run past it without damaging any of the enemies. Did I get the Colosseum? Or is this going to take to the next part of the story? Yes, there's Colosseum. Continue with... Stay and fight, continue with your quest. Although it looks like, yes, someone's obviously not spent... So the Colosseum is a really cool hidden area that allows you to basically level up and practice your moves. It will throw random selection of enemies at you, so, and as you see there, you have to watch it. You are on your own, so there's no help from. Now in this case I need to get rid of the Genjiro's. This is going to be a tough fight. It might have been off more than I can chew because the enemies are a bit random in Colosseum, so sometimes you can get really easy fights. And other times you can get quite tough enemies that. I think that will heal me as well. Yeah, it's a healing. Yeah, that doesn't help the fact this guy's a healer. Best I do is to try and lure one away from the other so they can actually also. Oh, they're going to beat me. I've bitten off more than I can chew here. You do have to watch getting stuck by enemies. You can get quite badly stuck by. You see there, they basically sandwich you. When you get sandwiched, the Colosseum is definitely much easier in 2-player. So here at the minute I've got an issue where that robot is basically blocking me. And out there sandwiched me, which is going to be a problem. Yep, they're going to defeat me. Okay, I'll start again with a different character then. So. Come on, jump plane. That's what I mean about. You do get that where you have. Sometimes just literally get struck in Guardian Heroes where you get absolutely cornered. So there, that's me out for the count. And that's the game over screen, and that's actually taken out of the Xbox version, and that guitar riff is missing, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, I'll pick another character. I will actually... Actually, just before I do that, I'm just going to check the difficulty and everything options. Dip switches. So normal, reset key, yep, you can change user. Yeah, so one of the few good points about the Xbox 360 version is it does show you the karma. I mean, the 360 version is still decent, it's just not as good as this original Saturn's version. So I've got Randy with his little rabbit, who's actually got quite a good attack, although Randy is incredibly weak. Oh, I might pick Randy. Nicole, who's the healer, she's really a character you need to have 2 players with. And Serena, who's the knight, who's the unlockable character, she's a really good combo queen. The downside of taking her is in the single player mode she sometimes appears to help you in single player. If you're playing as her, you don't get her to help you. So So there's like the cannon fight. If you've got the other characters, she'll come along and help in the fight in certain key moments in the story. So here we go, back again as Randy. Randy is always one of my favourite characters, but he is weak. But once you master him, he can do a lot of damage. Just skip these this time round. So you can't skip them that quickly. So hold down A and tap C, is it? Yeah, A tap C. Randy also has a really great 360 movement attack, so he can, as you see there, oh yeah, I forgot how weak he is. He is the powerhouse of magic though, so he is, once you master Randy, and once you certainly level him, he can be, his magic is by far the most strongest, but you do have to watch him initially because he is so weak. I mean, truthfully, I'm probably going to lose a credit as Randy in this section here alone. Randy also has the greatest dragon. He's by far the best uppercut maneuver, which literally allows you to juggle. I did used to do a lot of bad karma juggling to make sure he was by far, you could level him up an awful lot more than some of the others because he's got that down spin as well. He's got the range on his attacks, but he is by far the weakest character by default. Oh, and if you hit B and C, your little rabbit there goes and does his flame attack, so he is a really fun character to play as. You've got no spells, you've got the lightning, the whirlwind, the ice pool, and the super blast. Now keep doing that. You can actually pull off all the moves via like Street Fighter movements, but I can't remember half the magic. So you can pull off the magic spells as well using Street Fighter movements. So yeah, as you see there, I'm just exhausting my magic supply. Which is not intentional. So I mentioned earlier, the PAL versions are tough. It is optimized though, it's just a fraction slower than the NTSC one. And there are some issues with the graphics, are slightly distorted because they've tried to stretch them to full screen it. So. And don't try to play this on an NTS system. If you're looking at this thing, oh, this might be a cheap way to get an English version, don't. The PAL version will not run at 60 Hz. It's one of those games that's utterly unplayable at 60 Hz. Yeah, I'm actually doing better as Randy than I was against Shiro. Just because I much prefer his combat style. Yeah, the heavy whack was something flying, and you can just literally juggle them. So that's what you mustn't do, juggle them when they're dead. That's what gives you bad karma. But the karma status in the Saturn's version is never shown. It is shown in the 360 version, which is one of the few things. But it's a really weird stat that you don't. The game never. Literally, it's just like a functionality the game does not tell you about, which is infuriating. Right, what I'll do for this one is I will actively do the alternative route here at this bit, so once Randy can basically, this is the thing you have to watch with, so Selena is currently using a flame attack, and there is a friendly fire damage where if you put area effects like flame and things on characters, that will damage your other allies, so... Now, you do have to watch, if you use your magic when you don't have mana, you will have a brief stun period. So you've got to know when to stun enemies. You see there, Randy, he can basically do some brutal combos with that. Be careful, I want to try and avoid losing it. It's not about... There, I got him. Q Harm's rescue attempt. Only 60, even tells you the combo the golden hero does on him. Okay, 14 points. So let's do one on everything, and then put a second one on vitality, and another one on intelligence or strength. I'll put one on strength because early on you're not going to use your magic spells that much because your mana's so low. Admittedly, I could just literally plow everything into it. This first stage you always get the most points from, so I tend to like to have balanced characters, although as I found in Dark Souls that means I then have to grind for far longer than I should do. But so this, again, this is what I mean about the different routes. This stage actually has a little sub-Easter egg route. It's not a main route, as in it doesn't affect the story, but you can do a little thing where you drive off Volga, have Xur drive off Volga instead of Volga, basically, as we saw earlier. So basically instead... To do that, we have to basically run. The little trick is to run all the way to the right here. Once the knights have risen, and you don't then. So the trick here is to run all the way to the right. And there we go. We didn't see this cutscene for these monsters. Leave it once, sir. actually they actually get more characters, and we get a nice little alternative cutscene there. Random spells. Ice spell as well. Randy really is the magic character. If you use him, you've really got to go for the magic. And your little rabbit's really helpful. You can do that, you can spam that attack constantly as well, so... Now, admittedly, that route's a nice little Easter egg route. It's not seeing Xur and Volga argue. Not ideal, though, as you actually get more experience from fighting the Cyclops, the Mages, and the other Green Knights, so... Serena, of course, if you discover in the plot, actually has a connection to the royal family, or the original one. So go to the... So before I went to the town without fear, let's go to the small forest village and rest. And yes, we get to meet Randy's master, hence why I picked that route. So 2 points. I'm going to put 1 in vitality. Put another 1 in strength again. Just because this default combat damage is just a touch too low. And then I'll start whacking it all into magic. So you see a totally different route, totally different set of enemies, different stages in this forest. To the way of the to what we met in the town as Genjin, which is what makes Guardian Heroes so unique. Only Dungeons and Dragons really got the routes right. Actually, Fight and Rage, one of the newer ones, is actually quite good for routes. But that's not as good. Fight and Rage is not as good as Dungeons and Dragons 1 and 2 by Capcom, and this and I think it's fair to say this and Dungeons and Dragons probably are the seminal ones, but Fight and Rage is actually quite a good route scrolling beat 'em up. Streets of Rage 3 ironically had 2 routes in the game, something that Streets of Rage 4 doesn't have, although Streets of Rage 3 only basically had the good ending route and the bad ending route. The animation of all, you can literally play as every character in the game in this. So in the verse mode, you can literally play as any character playable in the single player. I don't think there's one character not available. You can even play as all the civilians, and you can play as the little rabbit there. That was how complete they made the verse mode. You do have to unlock everyone, and in order to unlock them, you have to beat them. So that does mean doing every single route in the game. This has such a good rock and roll soundtrack. It just perfectly fits any scroll and beat 'em up. I think this has actually got a far better soundtrack than Streets of Rage 2. I think that was all the flies, yeah. I think they're bees actually. Actually, I'm vastly better with Randy despite him being weaker than Genjiro because I'm so used to playing as Randy. Also, a bit of a dry run with Genjiro. I feel like Randy's spin there, you can combo that hugely. Again, I will try and keep the karma high. Yes. Hello, Emil. Gongclaves, thanks for joining. I think that's Emmanuel Gongclave. Apologies if I pronounce your name. Thanks for joining the stream. This is Guardian Heroes. It is a fantastic game. So I believe that's just literally a broken Guardian Hero. There's Guardian like protector droid that you'll see there. That's actually a boss if you take the resistance village route. I think here it just literally serves as something to beat up, as I remember. And I should actually do a run through, but if I ever really do a run through on the channel, it's one of those games that me and Dragoon probably want to do together, and we probably want to do every single route in the game, which would make for a phenomenal playthrough. Although that would be multiple runs. And okay, that's the goblin down. Can do the arena hit. Do I have to beat that up as well? It's telling me to beat up the robot. It's just going to explode, so... There's definitely the signpost in this stage as well. You can go to the Colosseum in this stage, I believe. There are a couple of stages you can go to the Colosseum, so... It is just it really is a pinnacle in scrolling beat 'em ups. Yeah, so there was the signpost for the Colosseum in the background. I won't chance it again, seeing as I failed miserably last time. Said the Colosseum's a bit pot luck with who you get. Thank you, boss. Okay, go berserk, buddy. He's gonna do. We're gonna tag him. That's the thing. You can do a lot of tag team spells. So you see there, me doing that and Rat. I turned into the yeah, he's the other rabbit. So basically, there's actually two rabbits. This is actually your master's rabbit. So basically, the big gets. There we go. Here's the one called Mido. If he sat on my shoulders. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the music's just phenomenal, all the guitar riffs. I think it was synthesized, but they really did to make it sound sort of proper rocker. It's a phenomenal soundtrack. I wish more modern games had soundtracks to this quality. Music has been something that's really suffered in modern video games. With the sword, he does indeed. We did do a previous video you can watch on the channel that was not on an open source scan converter, and this does look mighty fine on an open source scan converter. Hi Crack TV, thanks for joining the stream. We're looking at Guardian Heroes on Sega Saturn tonight. Resistance. You have no place to hide. Surrender. And good evening here, although it's good night here in the UK as it's 10:48. Prepare to meet your doom? Well. I'm going to tell him to protect me, and then I'm going to tell him to go all out. So he will then should be able to do his charge attack. Do regain magic by doing hits. Take damage. And you see that the Guardian really is really powerful. The kingdom protects its people. Treatment. Just the first hint there that Volgar's not as bad as he seems. Destroy the entire kingdom. Would have a saviour, but I never thought that it would be you. Go save the village, so let's go save the village, seeing as we sort of head to the castle before. Well, there's not going to be much left of the resistance village. Okay, 6 points, so do that, and I'll put double up on the intelligence. And agility, speed, luck's I can't remember what luck influences. The Royal Trap. As mentioned earlier, the stages jot around pending on what your choices are. So you won't actually. You can't. I don't think you can play the stages in order, as each route you pick is a different. We are the Muscleheads. There is a great car. Wait up, boss. Let us handle this. Yes, there is a really great cast of characters, and you do have to go across all the different routes to see them all. A few sprites do get kind of reused and partly redrawn for some of the characters, like Katrina was effectively a redraw of Serena with just a different head. But I suppose at the time, I suspect that was probably due to the time frames they were working to make the game. I should do this with full blast, and that should get almost all of them. Yep. And there they all go. Though you do meet various characters, you can, like those guys, the muscleheads, you do meet again if you take another story route. And here we meet with Zera again. So I hope you're all enjoying the stream, guys. Do hit that like button if you are. I will probably wrap it up in the near future. I will intend to do a playthrough of Guardian Heroes at some point as well. Playing this now has really made me think I should probably do a playthrough at some point. I really enjoy playing as Randy as well. He's definitely still my favourite character. Him and Han are definitely one of my favourite characters in this. I'm not going to use too many magic spells on these guys. Yeah, doing damage does restore your magic. I think does it restore your health as well, doing damage? There's only a way to restore health. I know there's the healing spells. I think doing combos restored your health as well or something. Or just certain characters. I think he'll keep running off screen if we keep doing that enough. Actually been a few weeks, Carrick, since we've seen you, hasn't it? But thanks for coming back to the stream. It's nice to have people return to our streams. I'm glad to know you guys all enjoy them. Probably don't do Saturn streams enough. Oh, we still need a power adapter. Ah. Yeah, I know. This is the downside of Japanese systems here in the UK. We have to get power down, step down converters and other sorts. So they can be a little bit tricky because if you put them in without doing that, you blow them. And the last thing you want to do is blow your power adapters. Thurs definitely one of the weaker characters, although he does actually come back as a later boss. But in terms of Saturn games, if you can grab this, I would highly recommend it. I mean, if you can't get the English versions, do go for the Japanese. Hopefully it will do. I know the Sega Saturn for me is probably this and the Super Nintendo are my most favourite consoles. To replace the real cons in an attempt to seize power. You did special missions, didn't you? Yes, Zur is quite a troublesome character and he will vanish pretty regularly. Cheers to the like, guys. If you're enjoying the stream, please do hit that like button. As always, if you're new to the channel, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. So avoid the battles in town, approach the castle from the town, avoid the battle in the town, approach the castle from the forest. What should we do? Avoid the battle in the town. Let's take the lower route. Okay, 3 points. I'll put 1 into strength and up his magic again. I will wrap this up fairly quickly tonight, guys, as we've got 2 streams planned tomorrow, so... yes, I corrected myself earlier. I said I thought you could play as every character. You can't play as the bees and these will-o-wisp things. Yeah, the US version is 60 Hz, so this is the PAL version which is optimised, but I would go for the US version if you can. It's just a fraction faster. The Japanese version, of course, is in Japanese, which isn't ideal to play unless you understand. As you miss out on a lot of the story, and this game does have an awful lot of story. One of the few scrolling beat 'em ups that actually has a really, really good story. I've just actually get the work. This is the work. I believe this is the working design translation in the English one, because the Japanese translation, the official translation they did for the Xbox version, was not very good. Even though it was officially done by Sega, it kind of turns out a direct translation isn't so great. Should actually use my little rabbit a bit more. Or should I just literally turn him into a fireball to hit all the enemies? That's the wrong direction. That's the downside of it. No, let him fall. Hit the ice. Hit the ice. AI can be a bit defensive at times. I should say, if you run out of mana while casting a spell, you will stun yourself. So it's also worth noting, if you don't have full mana, some spells will not be at their full potency. So try to only cast spells at full mana if you can. So I do love the saxophone in this thing. Oh, I finally lost this Randy there. Probably should be a bit more aggressive. Right, I will wrap this up. I'll finish this stage and I'm going to wrap this stream up for tonight. And yes, our thief friends are back. Your flabby body is not worthy. I've seen this fight Volga actually helps you. But he will still damage him. He's actually got his health and the rest of it all having a scrap, which is quite nice. It does get a bit crazy, I will admit, and certainly the numbers of enemies on screen. You've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 if you have 2 players, so it's an incredibly manic game. There's a credit again. Dialogues, yeah, they're slightly, the one or two of them were slight culture references to the type of working design, because the translation was done by working design, but Okay guys, this is actually going to lead into the cannon fight, but I'm going to wrap it up here and save the cannon fight for another video, as we've got multiple streams to do tomorrow, and I've been streaming for an hour and a half now, which is longer than I originally planned. So this has been Guardian Heroes. I should actually say it was released in 1996. It was of course developed by Treasure, and it was published by Sega, and as I said, this is probably one of Treasure's finest games they ever did make. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for joining, to all my commenters. Again, as always, well, good to have you all here with me. We will be back tomorrow. I think we will be doing a fight night, and we are doing a Bomberman online stream. So thanks again for joining, and I will be back tomorrow. Thanks for the stream. That's cool. I think I might do a gameplay stream of this at some point as well. So we will do a gameplay stream. But for now, I'm going to wrap this up. Yes, it is Treasure Forever. I totally agree with you, Tarek. But for now, I will wrap this up. So thank you for watching. I think because this goes into a really long cutscene where they show the background and everything, which I probably don't want to show in the stream, and kind of wrap it up here and save for another time. But I think we will do. I tell you, if you guys want a video of this, please let me know. I should really probably do a full long play. We've got a short gameplay video on the channel, but I think we should probably do a full long play of it now. At some point, I'd like to do all the routes at some point, but maybe just a short long play of one of the routes for now, and then do another one at a later date. You can get this on Xbox 360 as well, and Xbox One. So with that, I will wish you a good night, a good evening, a good afternoon, or a good morning, wherever you are in the world. Happy to stream for all you guys as always. Thanks for joining the stream, and I will see you all in tomorrow. So if you can jump in tomorrow's Bomberman stream on Google Stadia, very much appreciated. But I'll say good night, everyone, and speak to you all soon. I will be back tomorrow with more streams.